Okay, so it's what? Beginning of July? Yes. Kind of beginning to mid. Anyway, 2024. And yeah, I'm trying to talk about my life, right? But what what exactly about it? Um, it's a sensitive issue that has been ongoing for years. I warn others to find an income if they can, to really try to find a way. Very much so women, but anybody, because quite frankly, that's why I've been in this situation. I haven't been able to get out. Well, many reasons, but one of them is financial, and then you've also got the heavy emotional, factors. So, I warn against, be very cautious who you live with. You got to create those boundaries and make sure you don't have too much affection with whoever you live with. Like, you can't be attached. You have to be able to walk away and clearly be able to look out for your best interests. You want to feel like, you're confident and you're in control and you're going to act according to what's best for you. That, you don't want to live with somebody who you feel an obligation to. That's very dangerous. Um, we are socialized in a certain way as females all across the world from a young age to form that attachment. We're kind of tricked, and we've got all these influences trying to kind of, lure us. So it's easy, like, instinctually to feel like, oh, you have to attach to something. Otherwise, you feel very unsafe and vulnerable and all this kind of stuff. I get it. I think it's biology too. Um, but sometimes that can cloud your judgment. And you don't realize until you've got to deal with the whole mess, years later, decades later. Um, so, yeah, my situation is it's 2024. I've lived with somebody 4 years now, and it's been extremely difficult, tumultuous. Um, there's been some, I don't know what word to use, but it's, to me, incidents that it's beyond mistreatment. You know what I mean? Like, it's beyond, uh, you do something and you totally don't mean it. Like, it's, anyway, so, yeah, there were some things that were going on, and I thought surely, somebody would, I thought we lived in a decent society that gave a damn about women, minimally at least. And what I've learned about American culture is that we don't give a damn about women. We care about using them a lot, but when it comes to their well-being, no. Um, there's been many cases of women being mistreated, abused, killed, all that kind of stuff, domestic violence. And, in all these cases, look at Dateline or any of these kind of mysteries based on real life stories. And in most cases, the female did tell somebody. I've seen several cases where she actually went to law enforcement and said, hey, this is what's going on. She even, in some cases, the female, tried to get a restraining order and all this kind of stuff. And nothing was done. And unfortunately, it led to you know, an outcome that was out of her control. So these kind of things can unravel very quickly. And society often doesn't do anything. Just ignores you. That's it. And that's if you're lucky. So, uh, I told several individuals, and every time there was some excuse. Basically, I was told, be quiet. You're grateful that you're not, on the streets. Basically, you know, it's very, not the right way of thinking, but in these situations, you're often told, like, when I have voiced many times that I'm not heard, or I don't know what the word is exactly. I'm not considered, not cared for. And somebody will say, oh, yes, you are, because if it was anybody else, you would be thrown on the streets or something. So they reinforce the idea that you're so bad that you deserve such an inhumane, treatment. So it's like, oh, well, because I didn't treat you worse, that shows you that I love you or have some, it's just effed way of thinking. Like exactly the way that, yeah, exactly how abuse works. So basically, I was told over and over again that I deserved all this. I don't think I was even told once. I think once or twice I was so shocked because it was so, not common. I heard, like, oh, this is a sad situation. Maybe I was told I'm sorry, but I even doubt that. But, you know, very occasionally, I was told like that one sentence, and then it would go back to the whole, blaming me and justifying and blah, 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 dismissing. Uh, but yeah, it was never really validated. And I was never told, at least like, this is not right. Categorically, this shouldn't have occurred. This isn't okay. This is not how you should be treated. I was not told anything that validated, you know, any kind of worth that I might have. Ever, not even once. When I told, several individuals eventually, amongst all the individuals I told, never was told that, not even once. And, then you get told, like, oh, you're so angry. That's the thing, you get all these insults and judgments when you do talk about, as a female, just the facts of the situations, how you were treated, that, basically, what I'm learning is that you get rewarded as a female for being quiet. That's the ideal. That's the standard that everybody wants, for you to just be quiet. Because, you know, as soon as you say no or have questions or whatever, it's just like you sense that others just feel negative towards you at the very least. It's like, how dare she, you know, actually have how dare she be alive, in a sense. Like, females are just there to exist. How dare they be alive, and have feelings and wishes and, their own journey through life. No, they're not allowed to have that. Not in America in 2024. So, I noticed when I started saying, my boundaries and, just being more choosy, saying no, that kind of stuff, not being involved in the kind of activities or associating with certain individuals, then, oh, I was, causing trouble or being angry or whatever kind of, like trying to fill me with some sort of, as if whatever they thought I was feeling, that I was feeling bad, like guilt, or they were using guilt to try to make me seem like I wasn't feeling correctly, I was thinking badly, or I don't know. I was the issue yet again for not wanting to, you know, be in a situation where folks, would just be humiliated and mocked and just seen as, less than everybody else. You know, it's like, I don't know, in my own family dynamics, I was always treated like, I was just there in this silly, like, human being used as a toy for everybody else, I don't know. I didn't feel equal to everybody else whatsoever. I felt like God knows what these folks are going to do or feel or say about me, or I don't know. Um, so I guess that's a bit about my background. But anyway, back to the whole subject at hand about, living with somebody. And the thing that I've learned is um, you have to have leverage. Living with somebody, it's a war zone. That's what I've realized, because, everybody wants to live their way, have their, way of living. For instance, some individuals are very clean, others are disorganized. Some individuals care about those things, some don't. So it's just, there's so many little things that you or somebody else may want, and there could be conflict. And, if there is, it's like, who is ultimately going to win? Because if everybody is not on a very similar uh, wavelength, way of thinking, then obviously somebody is going to be taking some loss, sacrifice, etc. So it's going to be a win-lose situation. Uh, if you have individuals who just have different standards, and that can be difficult. And you know if you are the the one that's sort of inferior and there's an imbalance, uh, you could do everything right, you could make all the effort and totally not be recognized for it and still be treated like shit. Like, you doing the right thing is not going to guarantee anything whatsoever. Ask women who are married and just women in general, how many do all the cooking, all the cleaning, all the, everything, contribute just as much, if not more, financially. Yeah, they're ignored, they're, maybe abused, so, there's this naivety that, oh, well, if you contribute equally, then you're going to be able to have the same influence and be in the sort of same level of hierarchy as someone else. But that's hardly the case. So, what I'm thinking is maybe you just have to, I just thought about this today, like, hey, maybe living with others, it's like living in a war zone, and you have to draw those boundaries so you're able to, mentally stay sane and maybe even thrive a little bit. And, if you need to leave, maybe you'll be able to leave too. So it's all about recognizing what's going on and being able to take action earlier. You know, if you take action before you even live with somebody that is going to be in conflict with you, that's the best situation. If you do it during that time, well, it's better than, staying in it for who knows how long and dealing with financial, health issues, emotional, uh, so many long-term conditions. So, that's what I'm advocating, is to, you gotta realize what's going on early and how you're being affected. Um, so, like, if you're living with somebody and let's say it's kind of a conflicting environment, toxic, abusive, whatever, then you have to, you know what I think? So you need to know what's going on, be very aware, don't get too attached. Uh, and these are all very much so for women because, men don't usually have to do as much of the, mental, emotional safeguarding. Uh, and then, what was I going to say? What else? What was I going to say? So as I talk about this, I try to, consider heavily whether I should be talking about, whatever I talk about and just wish for the best. But usually I don't have notes whatsoever. So it's like free form. Um, so, the other thing is I think you have to have some like legitimate influence over the situation that you can have. So you have to have, leverage and stuff like that. It's similar to a war. The winning side, or even, if you want let's say there's a citizenry and they want a sovereign nation to themselves. What they need stuff, they need resources, they need to be able to defend themselves and get what they want essentially. So they need an army, they need resources, they need all these things. So it's kind of similar to an individual. You need to be able to enforce your you need to actually be in a situation where you can take action and you can do things that are favorable to you. you know it's just like, again, the analogy with countries. Let's say a country has uh, resources and something that most countries can't easily have. So that host country that has whatever, unique item, unique ingredient, whatever it is, they will tax kind of heavily. They're going to use that to their advantage. They're not just going to give away their influence just to be kind and give away their materials. They're going to use that whole what they have to their advantage. So you have to think like that as a human being, unfortunately, because what I've learned is that folks take advantage, and more than that, they don't value your kindness, your sacrifice, your grace. They don't. I have my own views on sort of humanity and the state of it. I think there is a demonic kind of, we're living in quite an evil world, to be honest. So folks need to understand this, that these this is what you're dealing with. This is what humanity is. Uh, and it's better to be safe than sorry. Um, you don't want to be in a situation where you've got nothing to leverage against and folks can do whatever and you're forced to be affected by, So in terms of like domestic situations, it's not enough to, give money to somebody and say, hey, use this for housing, for the mortgage, for whatever, because, they can lie. And I've heard cases where somebody has given the landlord or whoever, money, and then that individual claims, oh, no, I never received it, or they didn't give me enough, or whatever. So you have to double check that, the facts are going to show that what you do, as as far as financially, can be verified by an outside source. But it's more than that. um, um, See, what I've learned is that you have to have leverage in reality. So, um, for instance, the housing situation, I would only live with somebody who they need your money for sure. When you see that, like for instance, with housing, that they need your money to cover the cost of the housing for, you and whoever you live with. Um, so, therefore, they have an incentive to kind of treat you right. And then you can say, okay, if you don't, well, you know, I'm going to go and live somewhere else. And maybe that will get them to, uh, be more fair or something like that. That's the only case where I would say maybe it's okay to live with somebody, is if both of you have kind of an equal stake in the game. You guys are both uh, being affected in similar ways, both negative and, good things. So, because let's think about it. If you live with somebody and they don't need they don't need you, quite frankly, um, then they're just going to be like, okay, I'm going to do whatever I want. And I'm the one who has the, more money, and I can afford to uh, take care of everything. And then, you're going to be forced to either deal with the situation or leave. Um, um, trying to feel like I'm kind of missing what I'm trying to say, but give me a second. Because, like, let's say for instance, you live with somebody, they can cover the whole housing costs, and you can maybe cover a very small amount or nothing. Then uh, they can make life so difficult that because they can afford to stay, and you can't. I don't know how to exactly articulate it, but that's why I say that, you don't want to live with somebody where there's a huge imbalance in every way, where you have way less, your needs are totally different. What do you think is going to occur? It's the same in warfare. You have a a wealthy country with the military, with all these resources, and then you have these tiny, let's just say, islands or whatever. Look at look at all the islands, right? They're owned, if you want to say that, by these large, wealthy countries. Why do you think? And you can try to beg and whine and talk and blah blah blah, and folks will act dumb, like they never knew, or blah blah blah. uh, but no, at the end of the day, human beings, we're selfish. And you know even me, to a degree, it's like I enjoy what I enjoy, and there's certain habits and stuff like that. Uh, I'm not going to change for even for somebody close. If they begged and whined and stuff, I'm not changing my lifestyle. No. So that's how humans are, you know? So folks like to say, oh, you can just discuss. I've heard it many times amongst many individuals, like in my situation, oh, it's not too bad. You can just, you know, discuss and blah, 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 blah. Uh, there's going to be a solution. And no, there's no solution. There's, you are at the whim of somebody. You don't do what they say. They have the ability to wreak havoc on you, to abuse you, to steal in many ways, to violate you, and that's it, you know? I don't understand what is there to discuss. The facts are very clear here. Uh, if somebody wanted to change, you would see small signs at the very least. So it's very clear when somebody has absolutely no interest. Uh, you know, it's very clear when you're not considered and, somebody feels like that's how they behave, that, they're going to get their way